Yeah,
start? Are you
I'm
just
fine with
told
that.
you're
I
just
mean,
doing
yeah,
it
you're
yourself?
gonna
'Cause
cut and
even if-
paste anyway.
Yeah, he'll cut me on it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear my voice. Um, okay, so why did you become a doctor?
Interesting. So I didn't become a doctor straight out. I actually, when I graduated from college, I thought I wanted to go into research. So I went to University of Minnesota and worked there for a while. And then the NIH money started to dry up. And so I was being told by everyone that if you want to get NIH money, then you need to go to medical school. So that was really the reason I went to medical school. And then once I got into medical school and started interacting with patients and saw kind of the other side of research, got much more excited about the medical aspect of it and not just the research aspect. I still thoroughly enjoy the research aspect of it, but the interaction with patients was so much more satisfying and gratifying.
Perfect. And NIH is?
National Institute of Health, they are the ones that award most of the grants for research, and so that's where you got to get the money from. And in the early 90s, mid 90s was when they really started cutting back on things, and so that's where they really started promoting research being done by physicians as opposed to PhDs. So that's really how I ended up in medical school.
What did you want to be when you were 5 years old?
So I think I wanted to be what everybody else in the neighborhood wanted to be. I wanted to be a fireman. I mean, you got the cool hat, you know, there was the potential of having a dog, the ladder truck. So yeah, I wanted to be a fireman. I still remember for, I think it was my 5th birthday, I got the fireman's hat that had the siren on the top of it. And yeah, I probably kept that until I was headed off to college. So yeah, that was my dream.
Perfect, not boring. That's good. Just watch your foot tapping.
Yep.
Then the audio is going to be messed up. That was great, thank you. So in medical school, why did you choose, how did you get to the path of reconstruction and the emphasis on breast specifically? Like where did that, can you kind of get us to that journey of?
Sure. So when I went into medical school, I had been doing research, and a lot of it was surgical based. So I got jobs in medical school teaching people how to scrub and teaching people how to sew. So I got very close with the surgical department. So when it was time to choose a residency, it just seemed natural for me to go into surgery. And I'd always, been, handy with my hands and had done carpentry in the past and custom cabinetry work and that sort of stuff. So I went into surgery, again, not fully sure of what I wanted to do with it. There still was the option of research versus, patient care. And it actually wasn't until my 4th year of general surgery training that I was exposed to plastic surgery and really fell in love with the artistic aspect of plastic surgery and the fact that you're trying to put someone back to where they want to be. And so the whole restorative aspect of it was appealing to me. And so when I did plastic surgery, obviously you're exposed to everything. You're doing cosmetic, you're doing reconstruction. And it was as I started meeting the breast cancer patients and interacting with them and the understanding that I'm meeting them at one of the lowest points in their life. They've just been given a diagnosis that no one wants to receive. And it's not only affecting them, it's affecting the entire family. And working with them on that dynamic and being able to walk with them through that whole treatment process and being able to see them after they've completed it and now they're well and they're moving forward with their lives was just tremendously satisfying. So for me, it was the draw of working with those patients to get them to where they wanted to be. And for me, what's been neat is, over the years to then get invited to weddings and get invited to graduations and watching their kids grow up, from when I first met them with the diagnosis to now they're going through college, now they're, graduating from, high school or getting married. It's very satisfying.
Interesting. So that connection, maybe like your patient philosophy kind of ties into that connection a little bit. Like how you care for patients is,
Yeah, I think that that connection is really what draws me to working with the cancer patient. Certainly, when I do other surgeries, I'm following them for a number of weeks and maybe months afterwards, but not like the cancer patients. The cancer patients I'm usually following for a number of years. And even then, sometimes when I try to graduate them and say, you no longer need to come and see me, they request, well, can I come once a year just to check in and be looked at? And so it's that connection, I think, that really draws me to working with the breast cancer patients.
Sounds great. I was going to move the mic a little closer.
okay.
I just love echoing here.
Hmm.
Um,
It's always like the Saturday Night Live skit.
yes,
You're
just,
doing great.
yeah, frame your question a little, like, I'm not actually asking you the question so
Yeah.
much, so just sort of speak
Start it.
more complete sentences.
Yeah.
You touched upon something before that I wanted to go back to, but, tell us a little bit about how you got started at Holy Redeemer and that connection with Holy Redeemer and their philosophy of care and the match between yours and Holy Redeemer.
So I have been working at Holy Redeemer for a number of years before I joined their staff more permanently. And it had started with the breast surgeons doing a number of their cases there. And so I was going to help them, with the reconstruction. What I'll say about Holy Redeemer and should I say Holy Redeemer? Or should I be saying Redeemer Health?
Ooh, I would say
Um,
Redeemer Health.
You should be saying Redeemer
Yeah,
Health, but,
Okay. I think that's the first time I used it. So hopefully I can.
actually,
do it
last
again.
time we just said there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. So
We're rolling again.
Okay. So my philosophy with taking care of patients is helping them restore wholeness, mind and body. And one of the things that I have enjoyed when working with the team that we currently have is that we're not looking just at what the treatment protocol needs to be. When does this person need surgery? When do they need radiation? When do they need their chemotherapy? But really looking at the entirety of the patient, whether it be what's their job situation, what's their support system, do they have family members that are going to be around, or are they traveling from a distance, and trying to take all of that into consideration. And I really have been impressed by the ability of the team at the hospital and in the outpatient settings to focus on how do we get the patient from where they are now to where they need to be, and then on to survivorship. Because the key really is to put people back where they need to be, whether that be with their families, at work, their extracurricular activities. We really want to help them move on. So, we call it survivorship, but really we'd prefer it to be thrivership. We want them to be in a better place after they've finished their treatment than where they were beforehand. And everyone would like to just go back to the way it was, right? It's considered the new normal. But really we want that new normal to be better than what it was. So part of what we focus on as a team is not only getting the appropriate protocols and getting the appropriate surgery done, but what can we do to help them moving forward in their overall life? So whether that be talking about nutrition, whether it be talking about relationships, whether it be getting exercise or at least more activity on a daily basis, that has really been what's exciting, in that we're all on the same page and trying to help the patient get to where they need to be.
That's great. If you could say like 4 things, like Holy Redeemer understands XYZ, and then we could just say like Redeemer Health, we can do it both ways so that we can cut that little snippet off of what you
Yeah.
just said, and then it's like a
Put it
better
together.
sound, right? You're
Yeah.
not just like, you're pounding it home for the patient, like
Yeah.
this is happening at Redeemer Health.
Yeah. I think that at Holy Redeemer, the team that we have together really understands how to put the patient in the center of care and help them get to where they need to be, both during the treatment and then more importantly, after the treatment is done and they're going forward with their lives. What is it? Redeemer Health.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said Holy Redeemer. so-
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the team at Redeemer Health really understands how to put the patient in the center of things and helping them get not only the treatment protocols and the surgery that they need, but then the survivorship and the thrivership afterwards.
That's great, thank you. What's it like for a patient, like, are they receptive to that thrivership, survivorship aspect, like, at that first interaction with you, or do you kind of say, like they've just been diagnosed, are they, like, are you trying to turn that into hopefulness, or like, what kind of, where, like, how do you treat the patient in the beginning? Is it about that lifestyle changes yet, or does that come later?
I think when you talk to a patient and they've first been diagnosed, it's difficult to address a lot of the other things that they have going on in their life. I mean, none of us show up with no baggage. So when you're talking to a newly diagnosed patient, you really have to kind of see where they're at. In that, certainly, if they're a smoker, we need to address that up front. But if they're obese, we talk to them about nutrition, but we're not going to tell them that they need to lose the weight before we start treatment. That's something that we would talk to them about afterwards. Now that they're done with treatment, they're feeling well, moving forward into survivorship and thrivership, how are we going to get you to the healthiest place? And some of that is, psychological, and some of it is physical. But we would want to address all of that along the way, but in meeting them where they're at. We don't want to be pushing them away from us. We want to be trying to embrace them where they are and help them get to where they need to be.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good. Just, I asked you that because I want people who are newly diagnosed to be watching the video and
Right.
then seeing you and you resonating with them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? In your experience with the research and in your background, like, talk to me a little bit about how this kind of idea of the patient is in the center and people come to the patient versus the patient having to go out to the different positions, and like kind of the interdisciplinary approach and why that's beneficial for a cancer patient.
So it's interesting, we hear all facilities talking about being patient-centered. But the reality is that unless you're truly putting the team around the patient, that it's not patient-centered. So the patient needs to be met where they are, and their considerations need to be taken into what program is put in place. So certainly if someone hopefully is coming with a support system to an appointment, we want to make sure that they're not taking off 3 different days. One to see the oncologist, one to see the radiation oncologist, one to see the breast surgeon, an additional appointment to see me. So we try to put it in a scenario where, okay, well, let's find out where are they coming from? Are they driving in, from out of state? Do they have a significant other that's traveling and they're not available, this week, but they may be available by FaceTime or they may be available by phone. And so then the team can wrap themselves around that patient, but we really need to kind of know where they're at in order to truly make it patient-centered. To just say we're going to do the same thing for every patient and it's going to be patient-centered doesn't make sense. You need to actually look at the patient to figure out how to make that patient-centered.
And that's something that's really important to you, right? Focusing on that dynamic.
I think in order to have the patient have as good an experience as they can through a cancer treatment, you need to be communicating with them in an open manner all along. And so I'm fortunate in that I see a lot of my patients on a weekly basis. And so I'll ask them, how did this go? And how did that go? And, what did you think of, of the team? Or what did you think of this particular outpatient facility? So I'm probably getting more feedback than others. And it's important to me to then relay that to the rest of the team, because if they had a bad experience, we need to address that. And whether it be someone that was rude at a lab visit or whether the parking was an issue, that's the aspect that we need to make this as easy as possible for someone that's going through it. We also need to focus on where they're trying to get to. So we can't cure every patient that walks in. That would be fantastic, but because of the illnesses, sometimes we can't. So sometimes it's just a matter of asking the patient, well, where do we want to be in 6 months? And if the answer is, I want to be back at work, or I want to be able to travel, with my family, then we need to try to put that at the forefront and make sure that, yes, we're addressing all their medical needs, but are we addressing their psychological needs and their social needs in order to make sure that we're caring for them in the best way that we can?
Awesome. That's great. So in like kind of like less than Twitter characters, maybe like 20 words or less, can you explain your care philosophy? If the answer is no, that's cool too.
Yeah, 20 words or less.
At the root of it, like what?
Yeah.
I mean, it's listening, it's compassion, but I think you can elaborate on those words better.
I think the key to caring for someone in a manner that they're going to appreciate and work with you is to understand that it's a partnership. You can't just tell someone what the treatment is going to be and have them accept it and move on. That's really not caring for that patient. That may be delivering care to that patient, but it's not caring for the patient. So I think to really get to know the patient, understand what their situation is, listen to what their concerns are, because they may be different than what you think they are, and then addressing those concerns is how we care for the patient and not just deliver the care to the patient. That was more than 20 words.
That's okay.
Yeah, we can pick out the 20 words.
There you go.
I know, I was just gonna say I could like tick like the parts
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that I can hear it in my head. What would you, you've kind of already, so I heard you before about not talking about the practice so much, a little bit into a different direction, so maybe discuss that
Yeah.
a little bit.
So when I first came out in practice, as most plastic surgeons do, I was doing a little bit of everything. I was doing facial work, I was doing body work, I was doing some skin cancers, I was doing breast cancer reconstruction. But as the last 15 years have progressed, I think that my focus has been molded by the patients that I've been interacting with. I think that I get the most satisfaction, though sometimes the most trying, with my breast cancer patients. So at this point in my career, I'm really solely focused on breast surgery and specifically breast cancer patients. In addition to that, I've become much more involved at the hospital, both in the oncology department as well as the surgical department. And it's given me an interesting view of now looking from both sides. I'm no longer just delivering care to the patient, but I'm, as an administrator, looking at it from the patient standpoint of the finances and the interactions with the whole team as to how do we make this as smooth as possible for the patient. As I said, they've just been given a life-altering diagnosis, and how do we remove any of the stress that we can to make it a better experience for them? Certainly something we don't want anyone to have to go through, but how do we get them to the other end and have them say, you know what, they really did a good job for me?
Is there a story or something in your residency that kind of inspired you or that's really moved you in a way, or someone that's influenced you that you can share?
I think one of the things that will never leave my memory was when I was a resident, and I think I was only a second or third year general surgery resident. There was a 44-year-old woman who had been in the hospital for a number of days, and they had finally come up with a diagnosis, and she had metastatic colon cancer. And, as the underling I had been in visiting with, she and her family on, a daily basis, if not multiple times a day, and kind of gotten to know the whole family and their dynamics. And my attending, which was often the case then, when we got the diagnosis, turned to me and said, you need to go tell her what her diagnosis is. And I remember thinking, well, what a daunting task, certainly for someone who, has just graduated from medical school and is now only a couple of years into your training. But when I went to do it, and I talked with her, and we cried together, as did her husband and later her children, I remember thinking, wow, this is an experience that attending is not involved in. And it's that sort of connection, that human connection. Even though I was giving bad news, it was the empathy that, I'm so sorry that you're going through this, that really was touching for me. And I stayed in contact with that woman for a number of years afterwards. It was because of me having to give her that bad news. And I thought to myself, I can't imagine being an attending and not wanting to have that connection with the patient. Certainly it wasn't news that anyone wanted to deliver, and hopefully I've gotten a lot better at delivering bad news, but it was that emotional connection that really has stayed with me, in that you really need to be present for that patient. And it's not just news that you're delivering to them, it's news that you're delivering to the entire family, because they're all being affected.
Right. Yeah, it's life-changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Well, he didn't know he was shaping
Yeah.
what kind of doctor he'd be,
He was
right?
just pushing off a task on me.
Right, exactly. So can you tell me something that your patients would find interesting about you, or just sort of something that they wouldn't know personally? You hear a lot about their life, but maybe you can share a little bit about yours.
So I'm probably in the minority in that I share a lot with my patients already. And one of my passions outside of work is nutrition and exercise. And so as a fundraiser 3 years ago, I did a half Ironman. And I was dressed head to toe in pink, and we had taken it to the office as well as to a couple of the support groups. And as a fundraiser, people could sign it and write inspirational things on it. And then I ran in it that day. So I think that, most of my patients, because of the events that I do on the outside, have actually met my wife, and they've met my children, and they kind of know where my passion lies outside of what I'm doing in the office and in the hospital. But it's been fun to see some of their then interests. So I had a woman that challenged me after she'd been diagnosed with metastatic cancer. She was a young woman, and she said, I've always wanted to do a half marathon. And so she challenged me to do it with her. And I'd never done one, so we trained, and we were both posting, so that everyone could keep track of us and make sure that we were doing what we're supposed to be doing. And then I ran the half marathon with her, and it was great. Obviously, she was a lot younger than me, and so there really wasn't any competition to it. But we've done 5Ks as a group, whether it be patients, from the support group or from my office, and some of my office members participate in different events. So I think I'm probably more open than most physicians with what I'm doing with my patients outside of the office. But certainly, when we put the challenges out there, I'm thrilled that I'm able to include the patients. And I did my first marathon 2 years ago, and at the starting line I had a woman come running up and tackle hug me, and it was a patient of mine from 3 years ago that had no clue I was doing the marathon. But now again, there was no competition. That was the only place I saw her, was at the beginning of the race. But it was just nice to know that I'm trying to get people to be more active and healthier, and I think they appreciate the fact that I'm trying to do the same thing for myself.
Right, you're being authentic, right? That's great. We touched upon Holy Redeemer a little bit, and kind of you're involved with your core values as a physician, and then for your practice as well, sort of like because you could be practicing in other hospitals and delivering that care, but what makes the experience at Redeemer Health that much more unique?
Okay.
If you believe that.
Yeah, no. And then I'm wondering if this may be a good place to bring in MD Anderson too. And then we can always just put that in the closet. So over the years, I've worked at a number of hospitals, both in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, as well as out in Arizona. And what I find unique to Redeemer is the philosophy of patient care and safety that comes from the top all the way down. I don't feel like as a physician, I'm trying to explain to management how important patient safety and patient satisfaction is. They get it. And they are very supportive in programs to try to increase both satisfaction and make sure that, safety is at the utmost of, our foresight as we're moving forward. And I think that has really allowed me to focus on this is where I want to be working. And I still have privileges at other hospitals, but this is really where I want to be bringing my patients. And it gives me pleasure when I have patients that have had surgery done at other facilities come back and say, you know what, that was really a good experience. Those nurses were so nice to me. The valet people were so nice to me, because that really states to me, okay, it's touched everyone. When you look at a patient experience and you count the number of touch points, it's a matter of making sure that each one of those has taken care of the patient in the way that you would want them to. And I think Redeemer has done a great job of doing that. I think as we are looking towards the future, the administration and the physicians and the leadership at Redeemer understand that partnering with a entity that is number one in the country for cancer care is a tremendous opportunity, not only for our community, but for all the patients that are going to be involved. It will increase our ability to do research. It'll increase what we can offer on a daily basis, as well as it will give us a sounding board for what is in the future, what research studies are coming down the line, and how do we get involved with those. So I think that the partnership between Redeemer and MD Anderson is going to be a tremendous opportunity for our community and our patients, and allowing us to broaden what it is that we're able to offer as we move forward.
That's great. Should we be saying MD Anderson Cooper?
I don't know. It's a bugaboo of mine. Have you seen the most recent thing?
The name.
It's like Redeemer Health in partnership with Cooper, MD Anderson Cancer Center, it's like this long. So,
I just
yeah.
in conversations with the approval process and
Yeah.
everything, and I just don't want. We should just get one, because
Yep.
I don't want them to say
Right.
you can't use it.
Yep.
And then maybe say Redeemer Health too.
Yeah. I just figured Redeemer's right in the middle. I can't get in trouble for doing that. Sure.
Okay.
I think moving forward, the partnership between Redeemer Health and Cooper MD Anderson is going to be a tremendous benefit, not only to our community, but to the patients that we're seeing on a daily basis. And it's going to increase not only what we are able to do right now as far as studies and as far as what we can offer for treatment plans, but it's really the future. Where are we going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And having the number one cancer facility in the country guiding us as to how to get there is going to be amazing.
That's great. Were you going on audio?
Yeah, was there some kind
Yeah.
and well,
I think the partnership with Redeemer Health and Cooper MD Anderson is going to be tremendous, not only for what we can offer to our patients as far as new protocols and new treatment plans, but it's going to help us guide where the future of oncology care is going to be. Partnering with the number one cancer center in the country is going to allow us to see where the future of cancer care is, and it's exciting to be a part of that.
Got it.
got it.
Just make sure I got all these regular one. So let's between now with the intent of it being a standalone piece,
Yeah.
the importance of survivorship or thrivership, and the importance of wellness and that kind of thing, and just being most optimized.
Okay. And I'll be long-winded, and then you can shut it down to whatever you want.
Right.
So my goal in what I do on a daily basis with patients has always been to help them restore wholeness, both mind and body. And I think part of that is really the survivorship and hopefully the thrivership afterwards, and where we're going to get them to be in their life moving forward. I always say to patients, we're going to take care of you right now. We're going to get rid of that cancer, and we're going to make sure that you're taken care of surgically and oncology and radiation oncology. Everything that you need is going to be delivered. But I'm more focused on where you're going to be 10 years from now. And how are you going to be doing at that point, both physically and psychologically? And we put that out at the beginning. I know they're focused on what are we going to do next week and next month and what do I need to go through? But really the goal is 10 years from now, 20 years from now, where are you going to be and how you're going to be feeling? And I think that we've got a great team together to do that. And through partnership with some nonprofits, we've got nutrition classes, we've got yoga classes, we've got painting classes, we've got cooking classes, and all of those are going to not only foster camaraderie about, what people are going through together, which is fantastic in itself, but it sets the stage for when you are done with your treatment. Not only are you going to be in a better place, and I always, when people say to me, I went to the support group and they told me breast cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me, and I don't believe them. And I say, absolutely, you wouldn't believe it now. My hope is that a year from now, you'll believe that your life is better than when you came in with this new diagnosis. And some of that is, improving a lot of the personal choices, but also some of it is the psychological aspect of, I'm going to end this relationship that continues to bring me down, or I'm going to talk to my employer about, what, I don't think this is fair and I need to have it addressed. So I think part of it is helping them get to where they need to be. I also think that there's the aspect that giving back is tremendously healing and rewarding. So when I talk to people and they say, "Well, I'm not a support group type of person," I say, "Well, that's fine, and I'm not going to force you to go, but you may want to consider going when you are done treatments, because to be able to sit with someone who's just been diagnosed and tell them it's going to be okay is not only powerful for them, but it's very healing for the person who's there purely selfishly, purely to help them get to where they need to be.
Yeah.
Selflessly. That's what I was trying to say.
Sorry, that was really good.
Just give that to us again. Why is it good for someone that's gone through the diagnosis to tell somebody what's in it?
So I think when people have gotten to the point where they're done with their treatment, they're still in the healing process. And often I'll recommend that if they go to a support group and they can help others get to where they need to be, it is healing for them. We know that psychologically, to do for others gives us more joy than having someone do for us. So to be able to give back to someone who's now starting the journey that you've just finished is tremendously healing for both parties involved.
That's great.
Good to see a nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do a quick bit on the reconstruction aspect of it, and again, patient choices.
Okay.
We're wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I think it's important when I sit with a patient and talk to them about their reconstruction options, that they understand that that's what they are, they're options. That when I go through each type of procedure and what it entails and the recovery, I'm reviewing with them one option that they have for themselves. So I always tell patients, listen, my job is to let you know what's out there, what we can do. You're the one making the decision. And so I have 80-year-olds that come in and they decide they want reconstruction. I have 30-year-olds that come in and say, you know what, Bill, thanks for going over it with me. I don't want to do any of it. And that's perfectly fine. Whatever decision someone makes for themselves is the right one for them. And the importance in what I'm doing is just to make sure that they know what can be done. I'm not the one making the decision for them.
Yeah, that's great. And then you have like the resources and everything on your website. I was just gonna say like maybe we point them in a direction, but that's probably already out there.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of a touchy, because I'm not supposed to have a website, and I'm still paying for it, but I can't not have it, so
You mean your own person?
my own, yeah.
How's
Would
that
that
gonna work
be
with the
on
brand
website?
architecture coming down our way? Right.
Who they are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
well,
Okay,
just should be careful with the nuances of everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. So when I meet with patients and I'm talking to them about reconstruction, one of the things that I have to point out to them is that they're fortunate in that they're seeing our breast surgeons, in that this is their focus. I do a lot of lecturing, and so I understand that the majority of breast surgery that's still being done in the United States is done by a general surgeon. And a lot of them do great jobs, and I do a number of teaching, with general surgeons. But we have the premier surgeons that are at our facility. This is all they do every day, and this is what their focus is. So when I'm talking to people, I actually have to draw out for them and say, okay, this is the way that they used to do the surgery. And now these are the newer ways that the breast surgeons are doing it. And what that does is it opens up many more avenues for me with the reconstruction. So sometimes when people will say to me, well, a family member had surgery done elsewhere, or if they're coming to see me from a delayed reconstruction standpoint or a revisional reconstructive standpoint, I sometimes can't show them the same photos because those options may have been removed by the way that the breast surgeon or the general surgeon did the mastectomy. So we're very fortunate in that we've got premier breast surgeons that are working with us, and therefore that opens up more options for me with the reconstruction.
That's great.
Now, we did just publish a paper this month on a new technique that I just developed.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know whether,
How about this question?
yeah,
Are you excited about the future, like what's coming down the pike?
sure. Yeah. So I think what's exciting from a breast reconstruction standpoint is the change. It's always scary when there's change, but at the same time, it opens up new doors. And so a lot of what we've been doing has been similar to what we've been doing for the last decade or longer. And I see now with some of the new technologies that we've got coming out and some of the new products and some of the new techniques that we're going to have doors open up that we never thought were possible. For example, just in the last 10 years, we've started doing nipple-sparing mastectomies. That wasn't something that 20 years ago was even dreamed about doing. And now we've got some more complicated procedures that we can not only save the nipple, but we can lift the nipple at the same time as the mastectomy. And these are becoming more available and more common because of some of the other technologies that are allowing us to check skin flaps, allowing us to check vascularity, and some of the newer products that are allowing us to be more advanced with what it is that we're able to do with the reconstruction.
Great. So talk to me about the new technique, because if that could be on social.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that literally I just found out last week that it was published.
Because that would be great to push it out.
Yeah.
The paper, and then it's a paper, right?
Yeah.
And then have you with a video.
Yeah.
Kind of talking about it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, and we're literally the only ones in the world doing it right now.
Okay.
So the concept is that when we traditionally do nipple-sparing mastectomy, the nipple really has to be in the position that we want to keep it in. So if the person has what we call ptosis, or the breast is drooping and the nipple is pointing downward, we didn't have a way that we could save that nipple, lift it up at the same time as the mastectomy, because the only blood supply to it is from the skin, so we couldn't do that. But we actually came up with a procedure 3 years ago. I went and spent time with a gentleman from Israel who had come up with a similar process, and we kind of refined it and changed some of the aspects of it. And we actually just published this in Annals of Plastic Surgery this month. And it really has allowed us to offer that procedure to more people than we had been able to in the past.
That's great. Can you share with us the paper so that we can?
Yeah, I don't even have a hard copy, but I can. Yeah, I can give it to you. Yeah, and I've got photos and all that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Nurse who's
Can you say
at
that?
Fox Chase.
You have a couple patients who,
Oh yeah, say that again. Like that we
any new and exciting patient story?
like they shopped around. But,
Yeah.
I mean, you said more articulate like than that, but
So I think the team that we have with the breast surgeons and the plastic surgeons has really solidified some of the procedures that we're able to do and some of the advances that we're able to do. We have a number of patients that come from out of state and certainly from surrounding hospitals because they've been seen there and what they were offered was not what they were looking for. And some of them are very educated patients and they know that what we're doing is available. And some of them are just coming to see us for a second opinion and getting a completely different story than what they got elsewhere. So it's that collaboration between the breast surgeon and the plastic surgeon that allows us to further what we're doing. And so being able to do nipple-sparing mastectomies on more patients than we were able to be able to hide those scars in better ways is because of that collaboration. And that's what patients are looking for.
right. And restoring them back.
Mhm.
That's right. That's great.
You know,
I'm all,
Do
I'm
the
all.
time.
12, after 12.
yeah.
I mean, we have a lot. I just.
Yeah.
And so I'm rolling.
Okay. I think the fact that we have this collaboration with the plastic surgeons and the breast surgeons, and we are expanding the number of people that we're able to do nipple-sparing mastectomies on, not only with people that we're keeping their nipple in the position that it is, but we're actually able to lift the nipple and relocate it, has definitely increased the number of patients that we're seeing for these procedures. But it goes hand in hand with the fact that we're doing a lot of these procedures. Both the breast surgeons and myself speak nationally on nipple-sparing mastectomy. We speak on oncoplastic surgery. So we really are talking to people about what's new and how to push your limits because we're doing so much of it. Certainly you wouldn't recommend doing some of the procedures we're doing if somebody hasn't been doing nipple-sparing mastectomy before. But it really has allowed us to increase the number of patients that we're seeing, and just the distance that people are willing to travel to come and see us and get an opinion and have surgery with us, I think is a strong indication of the quality that we're delivering.
Yeah, that's great.
That was really good.
Okay, so just
We're rolling.
Hi, my name is Bill Scarlett. I'm a plastic surgeon and the chief of surgery and the director of surgical services at Redeemer Health.
right.
Then you want me to do it again?
Should we throw in oncology there just in case?
I don't want to get in trouble. I don't know. I mean, that.
Let me ask, will your
Yeah.
title change though once the MD Anderson thing comes?
We're rolling.
So something that I guess my patients probably wouldn't know about me is that I already have my list of things that I want to be doing once I retire. Which I don't plan on retiring anytime soon with young children, but I currently have a list going. It includes formal training in oil painting. I'd like to learn to play the piano. And I'd be interested in taking some classes at a seminary school just to understand other religions and cultures better.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, and this isn't for video, but so you obviously have a spirit.
We are rolling.
Hi, I'm Bill Scarlett. I'm a plastic surgeon and chief of surgery and director of surgical services at Holy Redeemer Hospital.
Health system.
Oh,
Do one more job. I think you looked at me.
Just
Oh, did I look at you?
I'm not here.
okay.
I'm over here.
Okay. Hi, I'm Bill Scarlett. I'm a plastic surgeon, and I'm the chief of surgery and the director of surgical services at Holy Redeemer Hospital.
Just say Holy Redeemer. Nobody wants, it's bad enough to, yeah, Holy Redeemer. 'Cause it's
Just
not-
Holy Redeemer. We're
'cause
losing the
it's gonna
holy.
be like a health system. So like if we're gonna use it now, we don't
Yeah.
wanna say hospital.
Ah,
Cause it's
Okay.
a health system, not just a
I
hospital.
think everything on my website's listed as hospital.
It's okay.
Okay.
Try again.
All right.
That's why you should have a website.
See, it's not getting scrutinized. Hi, I'm Bill Scarlett. I'm a plastic surgeon, and I'm the chief of surgery and the director of surgical services at Holy Redeemer Health System.